Welcome along to Tweet Street Scotland Occupied, or Tweet Street Occupied Scotland, everyone. I'm Simon Bridges, aka Peter. With me, as usual, my co-host, JB Whitesnake. Hi, John. How you doing?
Hi, Peter. How's it going, pal? You all right?
Aye, all good, mate. All good this side, thanks. And with us this evening, we have a wonderful guest, Mr. Well, what I like to call him is Mr. Vorderman, but Billy McD. Billy McDermott, how you doing, Billy?
Not too bad at all, Peter. How's you?
Aye, all good this side, mate. All good this side. So just the usual format of the show. We're just going to chew the fat about current events and give our opinions on things. First, I just want to say thanks to Billy and his wife Katie for helping us to grow Tweet Street on Twitter by sharing all our content. I would also like to give a wee mention for their company, HomeSpring H2O. Again, they've been on the backgrounds that we usually have on from the very first show. And it's appreciation for the fact that the folk that you've got on your followers lists and friends, if you're on Facebook, they can help you to kind of make yourself more known what you're actually trying to produce. And all we're trying to do is we're pro-Scotland, we're pro-independence, and we don't hide that fact. So there's normally a wee bit of Tory bashing goes on when we're doing these shows. Thanks, John. We also like to try and have a wee bit of fun because life is far too serious if you focus on all the goings on that's currently happening. So what I'm going to do is we're going to return to a wee kind of a character format for this show because we try to make a wee bit of smiles and what have you. John, if you would like to just ask Billy a wee bit about himself and then the company and so on, and I might appear back in a wee second. First things first. I just want everybody to kind of see the background that we've got on you.
My eyes.
Oh, I can't take it.
Yes, right. We will be changing that, right? So I'll be passing over to you now, John. So carry on, mate, as you usually do.
Billy, how do you do? You all right, pal?
Yeah, not bad at all.
Good. What's your thoughts on the current political situation as well now then? What's your sort of highlights you want to talk about?
Oh, it's never a dull week in Scottish politics. I mean, the Dominic Cummings show throughout the week kept us all pretty much entertained, and it's a case of who's the biggest liar, Cummings or
right.
Johnson. But it's just a farce, and it illustrates even more why Scotland needs away from this shit show. It's just a joke.
And you also seen that Matt Hancock broke the ministerial code, but just a wee bit.
Okay, it breaks it repeatedly. I mean, his lies. I mean, we didn't put folk into care homes without testing them first. Aye, you did. It's just the brass neck of these people.
It is. It's a perfect analogy. Brass neck's it, and 9 out of 10 of the people who are interviewing them give them a soft soap interview. They're not asking them hard questions. They're asking them leading questions, which they can give leading answers, which basically lead back to, they'll always basically manage to change the subject to the vaccines. And that's their go-to get out.
I mean, what about all these hundreds of thousand people you've killed? Oh, vaccine. It's just...
That's right.
And the thing is, the worrying thing is, support for the Tories is growing in England.
That's right. And it's horrifying, isn't it?
It's... I'm interrupting my honeymoon here. We haven't broke the ministerial code. Billy, I believe you've got a company called HomeSpring. What product do they offer?
It's not actually mine. It's my wife Katie. They do bottled water and supplying to companies throughout central Scotland and beyond. So it's a good Scottish company.
How are you for PPE contracts?
PPE contracts? Well, I think we can discuss this offline if you want, but...
You're as qualified as anyone else, by the
way. just the way I like it, doing it offline. Thanks very much.
And also, as Boris buggers off out the door there, he managed to appoint somebody to investigate him, who basically let him off the hook and said he made a poor decision, rather broke the ministerial code as well. So there's no surprise there he was given the lightest dusting possible.
But that's the thing with this Tory government. You're not. There's no accountability. Okay, they've got the majority, which is fine. But they've had majorities in the past. You mean you'll probably remember back the Thatcher years and all the resignations that there were there and the sackings there and Jeffrey House speech being savaged by a sheep. There's none of that in Johnson's government. Nobody's accountable. They'll lie to the hilt and get away with it. And the support is growing.
That's right. And it's because they've got the support of the media. There's nobody screaming for resignations. There's nobody screaming for accountability. They are hand in glove with Kuenssberg and the rest of them. Like, it's laughable how accountable they are down there. I mean, they can't believe their luck. We've even seen bits on Twitter or something were saying they should cut for an election this year, September, go for another general election, just to, so they get another. They would walk it, by the way.
Oh, I know they would. And this is the brings us back to Scotland. You've got the SNP in Alba. One wants to go down this gradualist approach, which to me is the wrong direction. You've got Alba wanting to go down this. Look, we want to talk to start negotiations on the 7th of May. Rather than wait another 5 years. I mean, I get the whole COVID thing, and we have to tread carefully and ensure public health. But at the same time, if we can have an election, why can't we have a referendum? Exactly. And I've not heard any good reasons as to why we can't have one. And they say, oh, the support's not there. The support wasn't there in 2014, but we grew it.
That's right.
So the polls are a couple of points apart. One's yes, one's no. There's never much in it. I'd be willing to take my chances now.
Yeah, definitely, because as you say, there's not even a campaign at the moment. We're starting off at 50-50 from where we started in 2014. I would take that and run like hell, as you'd say, like it. And if they had any decence at a campaign, I mean, it would beg a belief that could you win it. Let's put it that way.
I know. I mean, it's typical Scotland, snatching
defeat for the jaws of victory.
The jaws of victory.
Jesus.
This is Baron.
All over it.
This is Baron S. Harry and Minion here, right? And I don't like the way he's talking about my union down the road. I mean, what's going on? We're doing our best for you up there. You should be under your knee, do you know, Hinksy? I take that.
I'm having nightmares tonight.
I take that as a no then. I was away for a makeover for the day and everything for this fucking show. What's going on?
You don't get the sun when you're a bit.
So, you know, I think the union's doing a good job for you up there. No?
Aye, every day. Like, I go to sleep every single night.
My Scotland should stay the union.
I don't appreciate what we do for them. We need to hit them harder. We need to sink the boot in, I think. We need to put the boot in use lot up there. That's what I think we need to do. Anyway.
I can't wait to see you on the front bench in Westminster again. They'll be looking good.
I'm always looking good. Thanks very much for the compliment. Anyway, I need to go. I've got my bubble to get into. He's after.
A lot of people didn't realise that as well. Ruth Davison can now appear on the government front bench if Johnson so wishes. Because she's a Lord, she now can be basically airlifted into the House of Commons, basically, because she serves as a Lord in the House of Lords, or a Baroness, whatever you want to call it. So she can now be interjected into a Scottish, with brackets, government, and sit in the front bench and be the Secretary of State for Scotland without being voted today for anything. Is that not ridiculous?
I mean, the House of Lords, it's what's it they say, the second biggest unelected body in the world behind China. And China's, was it a fifth or a quarter of the world's population? And we're second.
Shocking, isn't it? It's really, really bad. I've seen a wee clip there on Twitter before I come on there. Somebody done a good wee meme about Boris Johnson. I'm sure you're sending Boris Johnson his best wishes for his third marriage now. There's a wee clip of Carrie whispering in his ear saying, they can't make you testify against me now.
I saw that as well. I know.
Superb, eh?
Never trust a Tory.
It's shocking. Even there's questions about her I've seen about in the past as well about her competence when she was working for the Tory party. And she was asked to move basically sideways. It was only a relationship with Johnson that didn't make things develop further for her in a certain manner. I think
she's got a lot to play in this Cummings thing that went on last year.
Oh,
and
definitely.
Getting him ousted. I mean, you could have put a flag paper between Johnson and Cummings last year.
That's right.
The shit show hit the fan.
That's right. Again, if we had the media, this would be been exposed, but it's not. It's it's like an episode of Fawlty Towers or something, like Rising Damp, like somebody said as well.
You watch like the BBC, Al Jazeera, Russia Today, and they're all reporting the same thing, and you think it's a different story they're reporting on. But the BBC actually came out and said that their job was not to criticise the UK government.
That's right, so, even when they're lying.
As a journalist, what are their jobs to do then?
I know.
Is that a fan club? Or?
Well, that's right, and just remember, they're basically funded by the state.
Well, they're funded by
BBC journalists. So
I know it's got a TV licence.
That's right. Their wages basically paid by the state. So it's their mortgage is paid by the British government, basically levying a tax on us. So they're never going to push them too hard. Never have, never will.
No, but it's sickening to see what they're getting away with, and the gullibility of folks actually believe in it.
I know. Well, just wait till GB News starts next. Is it this month? It's next month it starts.
The UK version of Fox
News. Watch it, honestly.
That's I can't
pure shit show.
Aye.
And there's already been wee clips on Twitter and that all these journalists that used to appear on Sky and BBC and ITV and that doing their wee political commentating bit, and now they're full-time journalists with GB News, and you can get that wee clinker, Darren Grimes, whatever his name is, try to get his nose on, but he was sent back. He was used and abused like a bit of toilet paper and flung away with. And now he's putting up their tweets trying to get a job with GB News now.
Nah, it scunners you with what they're trying to do. But it's the gullibility of the people in Scotland. Still, we say roughly 50-50. 50% of people are still buying this rubbish. Why?
I know.
And it does tend to be the sort of older generation. You see them in Scotland in the morning with their Daily Record or their Daily Mail, and you think
you've had a sore spot with the because I've often been in a show. I'm getting to buy bloody rolls or something like that. I don't buy newspapers, but you're in a wee queue and there's somebody standing in front of you and they've got a Daily Mail or a Daily Express, and I've physically got to restrain myself. For basically, well, restrain myself is that's the mildest way. I look at the person, I look at them up and down, and I'm thinking, what is wrong with you that you contribute to that propaganda, you consume that propaganda? I mean, that should be tantamount to walking about with a nude. Might as well have a swastika on it, as far as I care. They bloody newspaper, particularly the Mail, because that's where it belongs, that's where it's going, and that's what it is.
It's we nippy this, we nippy that, and it's just
that's shocking what they get away with. Like
proper journalism. I'm not against people holding an opposing view if it's well reasoned and argued, but when it just resorts to personal abuse on their appearance, especially when it's a woman as well, what she looks like.
Mm-hmm.
That follows on nicely, Billy, to something that I was wanting to kind of ask you, because as you'll see the background that's up now, it's the Kirkcaldy stickering co-op that we're in.
Aye.
Right. There's some controversial sticker news. I don't know if one has been keeping up to speed with it. I've certainly been trying to keep up to speed with the Marion Miller situation. Have you heard anything about that, Billy?
I've heard the story, but to me it stops one step short of book burning. This people putting controversial stickers up. What have we become that is seen as an offence when there's far worse offences? I mean, don't even go starting food banks as being legal proper. I mean, it's the fact that somebody stuck a sticker on the lamppost and they've got the police at their door and tell them to go to police stations. I mean, you'll have seen the stickers. I mean, there's nothing controversial about them at all. And yet, 2 weeks ago, with so-called Rangers fans rioting in George Square, and how many of them were arrested?
Right.
Well, I think the things that the courts, or not necessarily the courts, the service in Scotland are focusing on seem to be away from what they should be focusing on. It's like the political scene. Oh, there's a squirrel. We'll focus on this because this is less troublesome to deal with than the issues that Billy had mentioned about in George Square. Now, I have to kind of congratulate Billy, because I know Billy supports Rangers.
Which is never an easy thing being an independent supporter as well, I'll tell you.
But I know that true football fans, people who watch their team for the football that they play and not for the politics behind it, disappointed. I need to congratulate Billy for his team, first of all, winning the league the first time in 10 years and enjoying it the right way, as far as I'm concerned. Now, I've not said this to anybody, but I'm a Celtic fan. It's how it goes. I was disappointed with my team, the performance. I was also disappointed with the fact that what happened after the celebrations. So thanks to Billy for being a decent guy and saying that. You know, it's
the whole Irish sectarianism. I mean, I know we're going a wee bit off script here, but if they were criticising Jews or blacks, they'd have been huckled and they'd already ended up in the jail. But because there's this undercurrent sectarianism is slightly acceptable as banter. No, it's not banter. It's appalling that in this day and age we have to put up with that nonsense.
I think that's a very deliberate act in their part, though. It's divide and conquer. It's what the British government have always done. And as you say, they make it acceptable. And it's just unacceptable as racism, and you say picking on Jewish people as well, or anybody at all. But it's a tool in their box, and it's a very effective tool because it's one of the tools that's passed down from generation to generation. You see it when you see the pictures of the marching bands and all that, when they go to Glasgow, or even when I come from in Ayrshire, wee lads 2 foot high with batons and flags and that. I think, well, he's the next bigot, Ken, and when he gets kids, they'll be the next lot. So it's the production line of these bigots, and it's been an acceptable part for too long for the wrong reason. And these marches should be banned. It's just appalling.
I've done a wee screen share there, guys. I'm just going to come on onto a wee video that I wanted to cover. I don't know if anybody else seen this today. This was Andrew Marr. So I'm going to put that on. And it was Nadeem Zerhawi that was on. Once I find it, of course. Which is...
As long as it's not McConaughey and his cheese, I don't mind.
Well, just not to ruin the show. Hold on a wee second here. I've put this on and... I've put this on and I've not shared the sound yet, so give us a wee second and I'll share the sound. This is the thing with being live and trying to do this. It seems a lot easier than it actually is. This was Mr. Zerhawi on the Marr show this morning. I would like thoughts on basically what he was saying. So if we put this on here.
By the end of April, you were doing 500,000 tests a day, according to official figures, and we're talking about 25,000 people. So it would have been perfectly possible to do those tests at the time. Let's just remind ourselves what Matt Hancock said at the time, or shortly afterwards.
Right from the start, it's been clear that this horrible virus affects older people most. So right from the start, we've tried to throw a protective ring around our care homes. We set out our first advice in February, and as the virus grew, we strengthened it throughout. We've made sure that care homes have the resources they need to control the spread of infection.
Now, I'm using my words very, very carefully, and I really mean this. Do you think now the government threw a protective ring around the care homes?
I think absolutely the government...
you do?
Yes, I do, because, Andrew, it's easy with the benefit of hindsight to claim, learn the lessons, and we will learn those lessons. But when you have a capacity at the time that's constrained by your diagnostics industry, and as you grow it, the system, I can tell you, on the 15th of April, the adult social care plan was published. The system then began to operationalise, as we've done with vaccines. We placed residents of care homes. Hold on a second.
Too late.
Hold on, it's really important. We placed the residents of care homes at the top of the list of phase 1 of the vaccination programme. They were number 1 to get that protection. The NHS, when they operationalised that social care plan, took a while as we built up our testing capacity.
This is way before the vaccine programme had actually started. And at this stage, you did have the tests if you wanted to use them. By the end of...
So I'll stop the screen share, guys, and we can discuss. I think he was lying. I'll be open and honest and say that he was lying. What's your thoughts on it, guys?
The dog was making more sense than he was.
I could hear it.
Is that Axel trying to make an appearance here?
That's
Billy?
Axel, aye. The Amazon guy's at the door, and Axel, he's got his thumbs up.
Brilliant. Billy, what's your thoughts on what you heard there?
I mean, it's blatant, outright lies, as we all know. But Mark is sitting there in front of him, letting him off the hook, like he does every single week with these characters. And you can understand people were a bit less savvy, thinking, yeah, because he's a politician that's on the BBC, he must be telling the truth. And this is how they're hoovering up their votes in the South England and the North England now as well. And it's just like, at what point do you turn around and say, this government is killing off thousands of people, it must stop now. We cannot let them away with it. And this brings me back to the whole SNP Alba thing. You've got the gradualists in the SNP and Alba wanting to be a bit more immediate. Again, at what point does Nicola Sturgeon say enough is enough and calls for a referendum?
Well, it's a very good point, Billy. I've said similar myself. I posted a tweet on Twitter the other day saying that I'm not a member of Alba, I'm not a member of any political party. I've got no quarrel with anybody who is a member or a supporter of any political party.
Likewise.
My immediate focus is Scotland's sovereign right to independence, or the right to decide if they want independence. And I will always push that. However, there's been some troubling or some worrying, concerning, maybe no worrying, concerning news coming out over the last 24 hours with Douglas Chapman resigning. Now, I believe that's the fourth finance minister of the National Executive Committee that's resigned. Am I right in saying that?
I don't think it was actually the fourth minister, but the fourth member of the executive.
Sorry, member.
Yeah. And again, like, where's this money going? If there's no secrets to hide, why are these people not being allowed to get access and show this? There's something rotten there that's we're not being made aware of.
As I say, it concerns me for the fact that it's the fourth member that's stepped away from that position. There was three initially, and then he stepped in. Announced there's going to be a new one. Forgive my ignorance, I can't remember the name of the person, but I will.
Colin Beattie, I think the guy's name is.
Yeah, I remember reading it, but I just didn't know who it was and didn't really take it in who the person was. But I will furnish myself with that information later. This is kind of a hot off the press today, as far as I'm concerned. This changes. No, I don't want to leave here without a wee bit of Tory bashing, to be honest. We've had all of these Tories seeming to mouth off about issues that are trivial with Scottish politics, seem to lose their tongue on issues with Brexit, farming, fishing. All of these things impact Scotland, the workforce, Scotland, the brand. And I think it's very obvious to a lot of people now that they kind of seem to be looking for any minuscule piece of information that could trouble Scotland and trying to maximise it while drowning out everything that Scotland should be concerned about. And we go back to the media on that. The media are arm that furnishes it. So how do we get round about that?
You consider that 95% of the media is owned by Tory donors. The mainstream media is always going to be against us.
I mean, that's the thing. We know. That's the thing that I've learned for 2014, coming up to the referendum in 2014. It was all the blatant lies that I saw that nobody else could see. And I'm not saying that nobody else seen it. There was other people seen it. Not enough people seen it. Right? So, to get round about it, I mean, bloggers are getting a hard time. However, I think that some of the bloggers, and I don't agree with every single blogger, by the way, I've got differences of opinion with some of them. But some of them seem to be doing investigatory work that the press should be doing. Look, there's a squirrel type thing.
Exactly.
So I'm more inclined, and the younger generation are more inclined to be looking online, blogs for information. Who do we get round about like as older kind of a generation to bring ourselves into line with the younger generation so that we can understand their issues and communicate the issues that we're aware of that they may not be?
The COVID jab. We've all had our second COVID jab. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, aye, it's who's had their jabs and who's no had their jabs. It's not a jab. A jab's a punch in the face. I mean, that's...
Sorry, a jag.
Aye, thanks very much. Right. I just helped you there, but it's a jag. It's always been a jag here in Scotland. I've never been jabbed in my life. Well,
I'm getting indoctrinated with that press.
Aye, I've never been jabbed with a needle in my life. I've been jabbed with a couple of people. You know, it's like big difference.
I think it's very sinister as well now. The mainstream media basically reaction to Prince William getting involved, having meetings with Gordon Brown. That's just going to give you a flavour for what's going to be happening to the run up to the next referendum that will have another referendum, I believe. God only knows when. But it just shows you the panic they're in, but not just the panic, it's how far they're willing to go. Things that they wouldn't have done in 2014 that they will do now without a shadow of a doubt. And they're even talking about, Scotland's going to be a problem for NATO because they won't be able to defend it, so we can't leave the Union and all this. And then you've got Prince William swanning about in all his royal finery, having meetings, off-camera meetings with not only Gordon Brown, but allegedly the leader of the Labour Party, Anna Sawar, as well. He was meant to be in that meeting. Yep. So there's a lot of skullduggery going on now, and that's only going to build. So they're getting their ducks in a row, and there's going to be a level of skullduggery we can't even contemplate. And yet here we are, we can't even agree to have a referendum yet.
Thank you. One Britain, one nation. Also feck your butcher's apron. I'm Scottish, you see, with another few million here just like me. I want to dance to your shitey tune. You're turning Scotland into a ruin. I am angry. You've upset me. I'll no mercy for your monarchy. Send Willie, send Andy Tay. There's plenty of wains here from the fiddle way. You don't get it. Our eyes are peeled. You're tax dodging, and you own the steel. It's your time now. It's how we feel. Scotland's independence is feckin' real. Gordon Brown's a lying cock like Lachlan or Morney, a true house jock. Internal market bill, find easily that when you dotted the end, you set Scotland free. So Albert Bath.
Nicola Sturgeon really isn't at the races, and they're ready dope more the horses, and we haven't even got one yet.
But do you not think in the past, when the election there, that there was people out deliberately trying to discredit these bloggers, and like you say, I don't agree with these guys, right? But they're pretty hot in some of the facts that they're coming away with. Mm-hmm. And you look 3-4 months down the line, and quite often they're proved to be right. But they've lost a lot of their credibility in the eyes of the general electorate. And how do we actually get round that situation and give these guys a credibility? Because I think they had the right idea. This is an alternative to printed press, which people are too easy to believe. But no, we've got the mainstream parties on both sides of the argument coming out and discrediting bloggers for being fanatics and head cases and whatever else. So we do need to get around the mainstream media somehow to get what we perceive to be the truth out there. But
I don't think there's any shortage of suckers working for the union. You'll have your Archie McPherson's only too willing to get around and chap on doors and tell them their pension's going to go again. Anybody who's any sort of notoriety in the British media who can identify as semi-Scottish or have a Scottish influence, you can guarantee they'll be put front and centre with plenty of money, plenty of time, and they'll be put forward to say, look, don't go independent. We're going to face a tsunami of this, and it's going to be relentless. And it's horrifying to think we're not going to be ready for it.
I totally agree. No, just before we finish up, because that is nearly time, lads. Before we finish up, I want to do another wee screen share in the video. It's all right, all us Scottish people, old and new, Scottish folk, old and new, coming on and bashing Tories and saying what we feel about them. However, I feel that adds more weight when you've got people that are closer to them saying similar things. I'm going to do a wee screen share and do a video, and then we'll just finish up in a wee second, guys, all right? So, guys. And if you've got a heart at all, this should.
Aye, I've seen this.
Oh, now we've got the 77th Brigade in with in the buffer. No want us to hear this. Wait a minute. What if we do? Okay.
That was one about the chap who lost his daughter, was it?
It was, John. That was the one. I watched it, listened to it. I felt everything that he said. It was emotional. Hold on. I'll see if I can get it this way.
We all know in our hearts that the lunatic at the moment, and I think the one thing that came out of yesterday, more importantly than anything else, is that the absolute need for an inquiry now.
Yeah.
Not in a year's time, an inquiry now, because at the end of the day, one thing we all know in our hearts, that the lunatics are running the asylum at the moment. And you know, the fact of the matter is we could have another bloody pandemic at the end of this month. Do you know what I mean? We can't afford to wait a year. Do you know what I mean? If we had somebody with half a brain running the country, do you know what I mean? I never call him Prime Minister because I think it's an insult to the name. But that's what we need. We need an inquiry now. Us families, us loved ones, all of us families.
It's the very, very least you deserve, isn't it?
Yeah,
actually,
exactly that.
Because you're reduced to a vengeful, vendetta-driven former senior advisor giving vitriolic testimony to a select committee to get answers to the most profound and the most powerful questions of your life, and you're reduced to tuning into a pantomime like that rather than having a full and frank independent inquiry.
Every minute of that, I rewound. Nearly 9 hours I was listening to that.
Lord.
Keep rewinding it. Listen to what he said again. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to be sure what he said. I wanted to understand what he said because it's so important to me. I mean, 9 hours is nothing. I mean, you know, I have desperately needed the answers, and for me, he gave me the answers yesterday. And the simple answer is by Johnson's actions, by his refusal to accept the seriousness of the pandemic, he took his finger out of that dike, and there's no bloody way he could put it back. And it's as simple as easy as that.
I hear you.
You know what I mean? And you vaccinate, using the word vaccination does not wipe away all those 150,000 people that are dead. You know what I mean? And that's what they're trying to do. And just every time they open their mouth, it's vaccination, vaccination, vaccination.
Yeah, you're right.
Never about death, death, death. Thank you for your time.
Before you go.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm going to struggle to say this. I bet you were a brilliant dad.
Oh, God. Do you know, Saint? She was 56 years old. She was a bundle of fun. I called her Little Chief, and she called me Big Chief. And everybody knew her as Susie Wong. She was just the loveliest person in the world, and she didn't deserve. None of these people deserved it. None of these people deserved, you know, a time of crisis when we desperately needed a really serious politician in charge of Downing Street. We sadly finished up with a charlatan and a narcissist and a liar. And that's why my daughter is dead. And that's why I feel for all of these families, every single family, my heart goes out to them. And when I see it every day and people turn around and say, oh, there's only 9 dead today, or it's only, that's somebody's loved one. Yeah. It's not only 2, it's not only 9, it's not only 1. It's somebody's loved one that's died, and people are in pain, and people should remember that, and they should remember that the next time they go to put their cross in a box, in a boat, in a polling station, because this man isn't fit to run the country. End of story.
I'll come straight out to you. We've only got about a minute left, so as quickly as possible, really, can you give me your thoughts on that?
Very powerful stuff. it takes away the fact that it's thousands of people are just numbers. As the man says, it's someone's loved one, it's someone's family, and this government has failed them dramatically. It fills you with pity and sorrow for that man, but also anger at what these bastards are getting away with.
On.
Just to mirror exactly that. There's no accountability. They just want to look forward and talk about vaccinations. But all these people who've lost fathers, daughters, sons, mothers, they don't want to know. They don't care. They never did care. But there's no going to be any accountability till after the next general election. That's how they're going to set out the stall for the inquiry. It'll start running, and it'll be after the next general election before it reports. That could go on for years, several years. And that will just suit them because they like burying things. Look at the Ballymurphy thing. That would not Christ many years for that going for. If there's any sort of accountability. So they can kick that can down the road for 2, 4, 5, 7, 8 years.
Totally agree, John. And as I say, well, I'm really cutting it tight for time, so I'm going to keep my thoughts, and we can carry this on another time. But for this evening, I want to say thanks very much for Tweet Street Scotland Occupied, Simon Bridges, JB Whitesnake, Billy McD, thank you very much. And anybody that tunes in, join our Twitter page, Tweet Street Oc 1. Our YouTube channel is Tweet Street Scotland Occupied. And we're on email at tweetstreetscotland13@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with us. Thank you, Billy. Thanks,
You're
John.
welcome.
It's a straight end to the call tonight. Both of you, I'm ending this call so that I can get all this recording. All right?
Well, right, guys.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Billy. See you again, pal.
Cheers, John.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye. Bye.